Bitcoin is something that you cannot control, something that is there, something that is immutable, and which has been like in this immaculate conception as well, which it makes you wonder about things and it put you closer to, like, I think, the divine as well.
Today, I'm excited to welcome Bitmund Freud to the podcast. Bitmund is a Bitcoin maxi with an interest in psychology. Welcome to the Bitcoin Edge, Bitmund.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for inviting me. It's my first one. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, but also a pleb. So I joined the Bitcoin movement, let's say, in 2017 for the first time that I bought Bitcoin. And I remember very well the first time that I heard about Bitcoin, which was 2015, almost 10 years ago. But I didn't give it too much weight then. Yeah, but thank you for welcoming me. And it's really a pleasure to be here and able to articulate my thoughts with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about your Bitcoin journey and what brought you to Bitcoin. But before you tell us about that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. So as you can probably tell by the accent, I'm not an English speaker. I'm Italian. I was born in Rome, and then I moved to the United Kingdom when I was 20 years old. Reason being that, like, Italy is a great country for to retire in or to do holidays, but it's not a great country for, like, young people. Unemployment rate are really high, and I think you can see some of this echoing in all Europe as well. But I moved to London when I was 20 years old. Originally, I could speak very little English and communicate like very little, especially in the first few years. And then I seen London, like my heart is with London because it's kind of like most of my life has been spent in London. I grew up in London, and even if I criticize it often, it's been a city that gave me a lot. So yeah, I came in London. I started to work in behind bars, teach me a lot about work. The kind of like alternative to not coming to London was like staying at your parent house until you're 30, probably study for something that you don't really enjoy, and like not really living life until you 30, 32. And many friends that still live at their parents' house. London really was like a change, really impacted my journey. And then you mentioned at the beginning my interest in psychology and my username, Bitmund. Yeah, and it was 2016, after 2 years working in bars, I decided that I wanted something different. I wanted something more like stimulating. And even if I'm very critical about academia, the current state, I did enjoy studying psychology. I did a degree in psychology, and then I did a master's degree in health psychology. That's been my journey. I'm married. I see the States kind of like next step, uh, because I feel like that the UK and Europe are going towards a direction which doesn't really align with uh, my values.
Yeah, I hear you, especially when it comes to Bitcoin and regulation. It's not as friendly as the US at the moment, but hopefully that's going to change. But before we discuss all that, tell us about how you discovered Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, but I remember the first time that someone mentioned to me Bitcoin, and it was actually my second day in London. It was back in 2015, and it was like I was at a friend's house, at the house of a friend, and they mentioned that someone that they knew used to purchase illegal goods on the web, and it used like this electronic currency. So that's the first time that I ever heard about Bitcoin without even like people mentioning Bitcoin. But it's something that I didn't really interest me at the time. I was like, oh, what's that thing? What's this electronic kind of cash? I was still used to like cashing ends from Italy, kind of thing. But then things changed in 2017. When I heard about like cryptos. So like it was not only about Bitcoin now, it was about crypto. It was like, I think XPR was like working with like Amex and like all the like big credit card companies and banks. And I was doing like a cigarette break. I was still a smoker by then. And I remember like purchasing this, it was like, I think 50 or 75 pounds of Bitcoin from an application that I didn't even know what it was. It was called, can I say it? Like it was, it was called blockchain.com. I used it like twice, so I'm not really a fan of it. But that was my first transaction, the first time that I really bought Bitcoin. It was not cold storage. It was like on an exchange. It happened like that. I wanted to put more because I saw the price going up, but my bank, when I tried to transfer more money, it blocked the transaction. So I basically thought that I was scammed, that I'd been basically scammed. I deleted the app. I didn't thought about Bitcoin for long. And like in 2018, I started to get into investing. It was like not crypto. It was mainly stock markets, dividend investing, and like kind of SP 500 or like big tech companies. But then I remember like this thing like that I download like this, that I had this app that I bought Bitcoin, and I checked it back when I heard that like price of crypto was soaring in 2021. So I started to like dig into like cryptocurrency a little bit more. And yeah, had a journey like with like, I think every plebs of Bitcoin maxi start with like other cryptos. I think I was listening to someone called Raul Paul, which like was talking about like interoperability of like cryptocurrency. And this is not like Amazon and Apple. It's like more like I don't know, different browser you kind of use both. Every one is like gold and the other one is like gas and petrol. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, it sounds reasonable. Yeah, like this big channel. So I start to like dig into like crypto more in general. What really hit me was like 2022, like bear market. I started to dig into the Bitcoin standard more, read the sovereign individual, and it was like an awakening for me. It was this is like trying to reinvent the internet or trying to reinvent the wheel. Like everything else apart from Bitcoin is just, yes, the same identical fault of fiat currency, but it's on the blockchain. So it get the worst elements of both worlds. There is no point me holding anything else than Bitcoin, because this is just like a company run by a CEO with a pre-allocation. So, and that's where I start to become a maxi, and here I am.
So that was the big reason for you, that all of the other chains have a CEO that could change the supply or do something different, whereas Bitcoin did not.
Yeah, there is the immaculate conception of like Bitcoin with like Satoshi Nakamoto and like no pre-allocation of like token is definitely like one of the reason why. But as well, yeah, the blockchain can be rolled back. That's another reason why to Bitcoin only. And I think any other use apart from the one of monetary ledger is highly inefficient for blockchain. So I know there is like smart contracts that like they all like 2021. I think it was a lot of, in 2017 as well. It was a lot about like altcoins, meme coins as well. Like, but it was about altcoins, so utility token. That they have like a utility of like um, I don't know, bridging some gaps, so like trying to sell themselves with solving a problem that didn't exist. And you don't solve that with the blockchain. I think the blockchain is like its main purpose would be like a monetary ledger, like Bitcoin is.
So, what was it in your life that drew you to Bitcoin? Was it at first for number go up, or did you see a problem with inflation, the money?
No, it was number go ups like with many other people. Like I think I started investing as well, like for that reason, because like just you have like this part in society there is like get good grades at school, go to university, work for 40 years and maybe be able to retire. And life got consistently worse. Like what was for our parents, for my grandparents, the quality of life is much worse now. So like the dollars, the euro, the pound value much less. I start as number go up with many others. I think I kind of know unconsciously that there was a problem, but I wasn't able to articulate. So I got into investing and into Bitcoin, not because I see something necessarily wrong with society, but just because I wanted to be on the side of like people that invest their money, not just having in their bank accounts, because that was not what leads you to a life of like being able to allocate your time as you please. So yeah, it did start as a number go up. But like many other Bitcoiners, you start for that reason. You stay because you understand what money is. It's Jack Mallers that say like no other man should work for what someone else brings. If you really think about and if you understand the implication of what has been done by central bank around the world.
Yeah. Why do you think regular people don't see the problem? If you think about it, I didn't see the problem before. You didn't see the problem. I knew there was a problem, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. But why do you think more people don't see the problem?
Yes, I'll use psychology to back you up on this one a little bit. And I think there is like two constructs that are work here. One is called cognitive dissonance, which I think many people are familiar with when you all like two conflicting beliefs. And this is like it's like as the start of my journey, I didn't really see the problem. I just wanted to have more money, but I didn't see what was the problem currently with society. Like many of the people that I speak with that don't hold Bitcoin, what I call normies or NPCs, I think they understand that there is something wrong with society. They see the price of grocery going up. They see that the quality of life is decreasing. They see that like even if they take a salary increase by 2-3% per year, that's no way that is staying up with like price going up at the grocery store or like with anything else. You're not able to start a family. But what they do, they identify symptoms like no, there is a big gap between like rich and poor people, or they identify politics or like bureaucrats that pay lots of money or like other problem in society, but they cannot really pin down the root cause of like this decreasing of quality in life standard, which is like ultimately we don't have sound money. I think they recognize the problem, but they're not able to accept that Bitcoin is the solution. There is like this construct which is called learned helplessness, which basically there was like a psychologist that had two like experimented on dog, so it's quite brutal, but he put like electrifying pain in the pavement and like with two dogs, and one was not able to jump out of the electrified pain, so was getting like a little electroshock. The other one was able to jump out. So there was like these two dogs. The one that couldn't escape at the beginning, even when later on was given the opportunity to jump from the electrified pain, didn't do it. So once you kind of condition it that you don't have any other solution, like that's how life is, that's how the economy is, that's how money inflates, your quality of life decrease. Then even when you given the solution, even when the dog was put in a place in which it could jump away, it just stayed and it took it. It took it like the, lit, the little electric discharge. And I think this is the same with people. So people have been told that this is how it should be. Price should go up. It's good for the economy. And when they given the solution, say like, look, there is this thing which is like absolutely scarce. Nobody can inflate it. Nobody can take it. You is censorship resistance. It's not. It's gonna appreciate over time instead of like decreasing in value. You can exchange it with other people without the need of like a third party. People are skeptical because that's not what they've been told. Like that's not what the experience have shown them. So they kind of like there is this learned helplessness that they don't want a solution. That's how they think it is, and it should continue to be as well.
That's a very good example, even though harsh, but a very good example of how people get used to inflation because we've only ever lived with inflation. And the other thing is that people don't like change. What's adoption like there?
Yeah, so like the UK, I think is behind the US. I think Europe in general is behind the US in terms of like adoption. I think there is a resistance in general in Europe to, and when I say Europe, I include the United Kingdom as well, to risk. So there is lots of risk aversion in here. Like people don't tend to be comfortable in speaking about money. People don't like to speak about money, or even they tend to be very critical of like people that they kind of like make it. They don't try to learn from them. They tend to trying to bring them down. I'm not being like a very successful orange pillar. I can just count one person, one of my friend, but I'm very proud of him because he's a maxi. It's not it doesn't hold any altcoin. It's completely aligned with my belief. And actually I gifted him the Bitcoin standard. It was like maybe like 1 year and a half ago, and that's really changed the course for him as well. You start slowly. If you try to build somebody by telling them that like all that they believe in their life about money is wrong, they're gonna get resistant. They don't want to accept your currency is decreasing in value. It's been devalued. It's been debased. They double down on their belief. So that's not how you bring it to our side. But sorry, I felt like I be avoid all your question. I think yeah, in Europe is not as in the US. I don't have like a very informed perspective. I talk with lots of people on X, and it seems like people in the US are much more open to talk about finance, to talk about like money, to talk about Bitcoin. While here in the UK, people tend to shield away, kind of like not wanting to engage in that conversation, at least in real life.
Yeah, that's how it is. So tell us how you think the Bitcoin mindset differs from the fiat mindset.
Yes, that's a good question. I think at least for myself, I started truly like embracing Bitcoin. I started to see low time preference against high time preference. And I started to see things as well in terms of is this Bitcoin, is this fiat? So I started to, for example, fast food. Fast food is like is something, or alcohol as well, is something that I used to indulge with. I'm much more focused now. I'm much more thinking about the long term, having a lower time preference around this thing because I think Bitcoin teach you that like good habits reward you in the long term and to have a purpose and not to just engage in like cheap dopamine for the moment, for the high time preference. So I think that's the main difference. The main difference is like that your vision is not narrowly focused on the day when you have like a Bitcoin standard, but it's towards the future. So you think about like 5, 10 years in the future. You don't think about today. I'm not an absolutist. You can eat fast food, but limited to once a month. Yeah, even with alcohol or like other things, like limit that. I think at least for me, I see alcohol as fiat, and I see like organic food as Bitcoin. That's what's gonna make me feel good in the long term. I don't want to engage in cheap pleasure. There is more important thing in life. Bitcoin give you purpose as well. I think it exposes you to your true potential.
I love that. You also mentioned that you quit smoking at the beginning. Did these health changes come about because of Bitcoin?
Not completely, but they were a part of it. I think Bitcoin was a good part of it, but it wasn't only based on Bitcoin. I think It's been tough. It's been 3 years, 3 and 6, 7 months at this point. So I don't consider myself a smoker no more. I tried 3 times. This is my third time and longest attempt. And since I have a purpose, I don't want to engage in something that give me pleasure on the moment, but damage me on the long term. I think there was like different thing in my life going on at that point, and Bitcoin was one of them. But it wasn't this the only trigger that made me think about that. I would say I've never been a big drinker, but I started to drink much less when I became a maxi for like that kind of like reasoning that we were talking about before, like seeing things in the perspective of being fiat or being Bitcoin. That was really Bitcoin driven, with smoking less so. But I would have arrived at that point.
Those are pretty cool changes. And it just takes me back to the low time preference and the learned helplessness. Because if we have a money that isn't holding its value, there's less to look forward to in life, right? Do you think it's because the lack of purpose or they don't have much hope?
I think it's a combination of both. So I think the current system and inflation, and since like your money lose value, encourage you to spend that money straight away. What we call consumerism. So like I think the current system like wants you to spend money on clothes, spend money of like buying a lifestyle that you cannot really afford. So I think this is like part of the problem. But then I think the learned helplessness kick in the moment that you given an alternative. Like you say, like this is not what life is about. It's not about having like a fancy car. It's not about like showing off your lifestyle, like buying expensive clothes or have like a luxury lifestyle. I think that's the difference as well with like Bitcoin and cryptos. Most of the Bitcoin that I talk with, they don't want that. Like maybe yeah, a little bit, like there is in the Bitcoin space as well. They want some luxury, but most of them they want time. They want time to pursue their interest. They want time to spend with their family, with what is important. They're not chasing the like the shiny object, the fancy car. No, they want actual. They understand what is important, and it's like time with their loved ones. They want to spend. They want to see their kids grow up. They want to spend time learning and improve themselves. They don't want the fancy car. So that how is a combination of like the learned helplessness for like the new people that they don't see an alternative, but as well of like being pushed by the current systems.
Yeah. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Does the current volatility scare you and volatility in Bitcoin in general scare you?
I would say I've been again from 2017. I didn't really felt the 2017 scare because I wasn't like tracking the price. But I've been here in 2020, 2021, and 2022. I've lived towards like I've lived through the COVID crash in the stock markets. I was a little scared. I lived through the crash of Bitcoin in 2022 to I think it was like 13,000 pound and $16,000, and I was a bit emotional. I was a bit like doubting about the space. I was still holding crypto. I wasn't a maxi. Like this volatility, like going from 100,000 to 80,000 is a joke for me. I'm much more invested right now. Like 90% of my net worth is in Bitcoin at this point, but I'm less scared than in 2022. I think when you know what you're holding, when you realize what actually Bitcoin is, you become less scared.
That's very true. When did you realize what you were holding?
I think it was again almost at the bottom of the bear market in 2022. It was like probably like mid 2022. So it's been not a long time, but a good 2 years. And I've seen other like host of your podcast. They're impressive. They spend a lot of time learning about Bitcoin. They know about Lightning. They know a lot. I read the Bitcoin Standard. I spend time looking into Bitcoin, but I'm not that knowledgeable. I want to become more knowledgeable. But one thing I understand that there is like only 21 million of like Bitcoin around, and nobody can do nothing about it. That's and this the strength of the network with the miners is just impressive. So you don't need to understand a lot. I think when is you don't. I think you need to understand that once you accept it, like not only understand, but once you accept the basic principle of Bitcoin, then your understanding doesn't need to go that deep to really grasp, yeah, what Bitcoin is.
I agree. It's still early, so there's many of us that want to understand a little bit more. But at some point, just like the internet, I don't understand how that works, but I'm very grateful it's here. So I think,
Yeah, same with a car, same with the internet. It's good to have like some surface and more in-depth knowledge.
right.
I think you can use it even like if you understand the basic, you know what the internet does. You don't need to understand how it does it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would encourage anyone to learn more about Bitcoin. I want to learn more about Bitcoin myself. Lightning, how Lightning work. I think one of like most of the posts that have been like on X that have been having like lots of like impact with lots of like people coming in is like I try to ask like this serious question or like what's happening in when like into like in 2140 when there is no more Bitcoin to mine, how the ecosystem is going to work. And it's legitimate question that I could look up. But I like to engage with people in that way. I like to listen to like different perspective. And yeah, like I think there is more to learn from me. I prefer to learn from other people that have been in the space for long to kind of like weight different opinion as well. But yes, in this serious question that I've been asking to people, I've been like having lots of exposure, like 300,000 people like saw like that post that for me 2 weeks ago was like not 2 weeks, 2 months ago before like starting with X was like insanely high, and like 500 people replied to me, which is like still a lot for me. And it's been a journey. It's been learning from other people about important questions.
So tell us a little bit more about your mission and your mission on X. You have a good community. Tell us what you're working on.
Yeah, it started like Bitcoin. So I sent this to like the people that I talk with as well. I've been on like few spaces on X. So it's been like Bitcoin. Like people join because the number go up, and I joined X just to lurk around. But I really paid for premium because I wanted to use Grok, and then few weeks later they give access to Grok to everybody, like even non-premium user. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to be a bit more active now. And I've seen like people could get monetized. So that's I started posting just because I say, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot to like this X thing and trying to get monetized. I was using it before, but not really posting, just like consuming content. But then I found really genuine people. I found like people that they are really, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have one friend in real life who's a maxi. So it's been a lonely journey trying to speak with other people, like trying to talk about like important topic like inflation, deflation, devaluation of your currency, debasement, central banks. It's like you talking to yourself, you're talking to a wall. So it's been like talking with like-minded people, and there is a space for disagreement on X as well. So I like that. Not everyone is on the same exact page, and there is like healthy disagreements. So I say like it's like Bitcoin. I started for the monetization. I started Twitter for the monetization, and I stayed for like the people and the magic that I found there. I didn't have a clear mission, a clear purpose again at the beginning, and I've been reflecting on this like through my journey. It's been just since December basically. So it's been now it's like the third or 4 months that I'm actively on X. But I really want to help like other Bitcoiners. Like people want to bring more people into Bitcoin, and what I would like to do is help the new core top Bitcoiners. I started to post a little bit about tips on how to get monetized on X. So getting more fiat currency to then dump into Bitcoin. So this is something that motivated me because I think yeah, and helping other people. I got into psychology in the first place because I wanted to help other people. So it's always been something with me. So when I seen that I could do that on X as well, it really clicked for me. And I know that I'm not exactly at that point yet in which I can help everybody, but that is an excuse for me to work on myself, to become better. It's an excuse for, again, self-improvement. So I trying to like pin down what was my purpose, was my mission on X, and it's like reminding people how much control they have on their life. And when I say people, I mean especially Bitcoiners, because Bitcoin exposes people to their potential, but then they become idle. They think then they need to stay in their 9 to 5 job until like Bitcoin one day will retire them. No, work towards your passion. Like that's what I want to really do on X. I want to help people in changing their life if they can, and I'm trying to do this myself. So I'm not at that point yet, but I can lift other people with me while I do it.
Absolutely. And it all begins with a step in the right direction, right?
Yes.
Do you have to start a community on X in order to be monetized?
It's not necessary, but we spoke with other people on this podcast as well, AA and Stacy, which have started very successful community. So I think a community, especially at the beginning, he helps you at the beginning and he keep you like in contact with the people, but it's not necessarily to be monetized. But again, I think monetization can be like a shallow purpose because I started posting about like how to get more impression, which is like something that had success with people. People receive it well because they wanted to get that with that. There is like a 5 million impression to get monetized. So like people enjoy that kind of post. But what I shift towards posting is more like how you build long lasting connection. Like it's been like in the past few weeks, I've been honored to be invited to your podcast. So like I'm glad to having met you and know you. But then spoke with Noah as well that you have on your podcast, which is releasing a book, the Self Bitcoinization, and he included some of like I've done some pools on X to like I wanted to kind of like investigate or explore risk taking behavior in Bitcoiners. So he decided to like put this pool on X on his book, and he sent me a copy of his book to read before. So it's been an honor to like been asked to like read the book and getting to know Noah. So I shift towards from posting about like getting impression to how to build real connection. I never used to DM people. Now I DM people. I ask them like if they post something interesting or if they doing like a cool project. Like I generally want to engage with them. I want to grow with these people.
I agree. Bitcoiners are wonderful. The people who have come on my podcast, they have been so kind in so many ways. I went on a spaces this week with Terrence Michael, and they invited me to speak a little bit. And they said, hey, podcasting's over, spaces is the way. And I believe them. I think so. But I said I still like to talk one on one a little more in depth. So I think more people are getting the information on spaces now because it's more up to date. But as we know, we're in for the long term journey. So I try to keep the focus less on price and more about the fundamentals of Bitcoin and first principles.
Yeah, I think spaces are good, but it's more like a forum, a group conversation, like instead of like really one to one in depth. getting to speak about a different topic and deep dive with a person. I listen to like lots of podcasts on like Spotify and my phone while I cook, while I walk, while I do like other things. While space are more like, yeah, you go and you have like a discussion with your internet friends. So it's I think it's different, and there is a space for both, like going in the future.
I agree. What do you think Bitcoiners really fear?
So, and that's to help me to answer this question. I'll bring up like a pool on X that I've done that I mentioned there, like Noise, including his self Bitcoinization book, and asked if people were. It was like an hypothetical scenario, but people ready to risk their life with different odds to get an amount of Bitcoin. And it was like more than 1,000 people answered. I did two pools like this, and more than 1,000 people answered like two times. Most of the people, they wouldn't put their life on the line, and I completely understand that. I think there is nothing that's worth more than life. But there was like 25% of people, a little less than 25% of people, that were willing to kind of take an extreme step to acquire more Bitcoin. And this I done this pool because I wanted to understand risk taking behavior in Bitcoin. I've tried to put myself in their shoes, in the people that they answer that they would try and they would play Russian roulette for Bitcoin basically with different odds. I want to put a disclaimer there, like most likely like this is not generalizable to like all Bitcoiners, and it's a pool on X, so like it's not completely a representation of what can like what would happen in reality if you put like people in front of this choice, and like people on X take different decisions. Maybe someone click by chance or just wanted to play around, but I think there is something more profound there. So I think that what Bitcoin really fears, to come back to your question, is like being stuck at a life that is like working 40 years for something that they don't believe in. So they would they would risk it all, like instead of like going on a slow grind, like of like losing their like part of their life, because like if you work to an unfulfilling job for 40 years and you're not able to retire, you're not able to afford uh, the basic needs, you're not able to start a family and to like really follow your purpose, then people would risk their life for that. And it's horrible, but I kind of like I understand both viewpoints. And if you are like really desperate, I think I can understand why people take that choice.
Yeah, I would not obviously recommend that. But the good news is that we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin gives us hope. And but there's always a way to create a better life and find a way to stack sats, because in the long run, having Bitcoin, the people that I speak to believe, and my belief, it's going to be a very rewarding thing. I just want to ask you one more question. Do you think there's a spiritual side to Bitcoin?
Yeah, I do. I do think there is a spiritual side to Bitcoin. I think it's like something that we've not been exposed to before. And I think just because I've been reading Noah's book as well, not really far into it, but I think it put you on that journey of improving yourself and coming into contact with like something greater. And I met many other Bitcoin, which are religious. So I think that's part of it, and that's why it resonates like with people that are religious as well. Self, I wouldn't know how to identify myself in terms of like religious belief. I was raised as a Christian. I've been like an atheist for like most of my 20s, and I'm like coming back to religion or Christianity in the last few years. But I wouldn't classify myself as a classic believer, let's say. But Bitcoin is something that you cannot control. something that is there, something that is immutable, and which has been like in this immaculate conception as well, which it make you kind of like wonder about things, and it put you closer to like, I think, the divine as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Tell us where people can find you.
Yes, you can find me on X. The username is Bitmund Freud. Feel free to DM me as well. I'm happy to like make connection with Bitcoiners all the time. So, and it's been really a pleasure to talking with you, Paula. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast and give me a platform to speak. I've been really enjoying conversation, even if I've been mostly speaking about myself. I really enjoy like your question and just having a chat with a fellow Bitcoiner.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it too.